Thank you very much for the introduction, really appreciate it. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I'm going to be about 25 minutes, half an hour for a kind of hopefully reasonably light-hearted but with some interesting content look at AI and some of the things that potentially you can think about for your own businesses going forward. I think it's fair to say that AI is a very hot topic of conversation globally, but certainly in the UK economy right now. We're certainly hoping for a lot of benefits from it. But AI means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and it's changed over time. If you asked people a few years ago when you thought about AI, they would probably think about Terminator. And let's be honest, how many of us kind of went there straight away today? At least one or two, I'm reasonably sure. That said, the reality is really rather different right now. The reality is chatbots through UI interfaces where we write in our questions as text and we look to get answers back out of it, also in text, that we then have to read through and percolate. And don't get me wrong, they're incredibly powerful. There are some amazing use cases, and I'm going to talk a bit more about some of those later. But this is the interface that everybody kind of uses today. There's been a big uplift in usage over the last few years, and certainly this year in particular. You may recognise these individuals on the left-hand side. And there was a big trend towards Ghiblification of images this year, which really started to drive adoption for services in the creative spaces. And so here you can see that I've combined 3 photographs into a single Ghiblification of these famous individuals that we have here. Now, in addition, we can kind of go one step further. So we've kind of gone beyond just Ghiblification and creating images based on stock photography. And indeed, we can now start to animate them. And so all of these I've produced over the last few days to just kind of give you an idea of some of the art of possible. So literally all I did was put these into ChatGPT, give it some appropriate prompts, and out pops the answer. I then threw it into a different tool called Midjourney in order to start animating it. And you see it's done a pretty good job. But we can go further. Here we have an image of a real-life person, and at no point did I do anything other than ask it to animate it. And here we have Mark as a deep fake. He was never involved in this. He didn't sign off on it. This is pure infringement of his civil liberties and human rights. So hopefully he doesn't mind too much and I won't get sued for it later. In a slightly more serious tone, let's think about why this is interesting. It's not because we can make better memes or we can make Mark smile and dance. Instead, it's about money. And really, the impact on the financial markets has been fundamental and transformative. And so what you see here is that on a very seminal date, so when we start thinking back to the Terminator and we start thinking about the date in which something happened, which was what that film was all about, we should think back on the 30th of November 2023, because that is the day that ChatGPT was launched to the world. And I've written it, or marked it, I should say, with red lines onto these charts for share price. And on the left we have Alphabet, and on the right we have Meta. And as you can see, they've done remarkably well post that date. In fact, having been flat or even in decline, they've now shot up to many X times their valuations. And that is no surprise. If we go kind of one step further, we can also see that you kind of have to be in it to win it. So on the left-hand side, we have the very famous Intel chipmaker. They were not in the AI game. And on the right, we have NVIDIA. Who are in the chip game. Now, they were on the decline until AI became a thing, then everybody saw the value of it, and lo and behold, their stock prices 4x since. And so we can see the dramatic financial impact, economic impact of the potential of AI. But even if you're late to the party, you can still join in. And so this is Oracle. Oracle were not in the AI game until literally 2 weeks ago, when they announced a $300 billion deal with OpenAI to provide infrastructure. And as a result, their share price quadrupled over 2 days. So look, it doesn't matter whether you're doing AI in your businesses today or not. What it means is that you have to start thinking about what it can do for you going forward. The other thing, of course, is that it's not just the public markets, it's also the private money. So this is private investment in AI companies over the last few years. It's a bit lumpy because it's only over, there are a few data points in here. And on purpose, you can see that I have been using ChatGPT, an AI agent, in order to provide a lot of this, to give you the kind of insight about the personal productivity levels that you can get through using these tools. So I literally just asked it, plot a chart showing VC investment in AI tech over the last 5 years. And this is what it gave me. And it went over and checked it, and it's given me all of the citations, as you can see here, about what sources it used in order to do that, and I can go back and check those manually, which is really important. Put human in the loop, don't just believe what it says. Now, as you can see, that remained relatively flat, but suddenly this year has all started peaking again. That's predominantly around the levels of investment associated with infrastructure, which I'll come back to later. That's chips, effectively, data centers that underpin all of the delivery that you would expect from the tools. But actually, if you think about what happened this year, it's then subsequently trebled. And we're talking about nearly $300 billion of investment in a single year from private sources into the businesses. That's a significant number in anybody's book. It's the single largest set of investments in infrastructure globally ever, and worth contemplating about how those guys are going to get their return on investment. Well, they're going to get their return on investment by productivity gains, ultimately. The global economy has been in the doldrums as far as productivity is concerned for many years, certainly post-COVID, but it was a trend before that. And if you just take gov.uk, whether you believe the government or whether you don't, they're expecting a 1.5% increase in productivity because of AI in the UK economy, which will equate to £47 billion per year. Per year, right? That's a big number. And that will go on ad infinitum. And so these productivity uplifts that will hopefully take us all out of our debt crisis and start providing some impetus back into the UK and the global economies will come, one hopes, finally from the productivity revolution delivered by AI. So what we're going to do next is just do a little show of hands, if anybody's willing. Who's tried ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, or any of the above? Okay, the vast majority. Excellent. Anybody use them for work? About half of those-ish that put their hand up originally. Have any of you, whilst using it for work, made it feel like you were cheating in some way or another? Yeah, about half again. Okay. I'm going to come back to that in a minute because I think that is a really important point I want to kind of land today around it is not cheating. That's the punchline. It is not cheating. That is called productivity. Personal productivity gains. You should be using it at work. You should be proud of using it at work. I put it in all of my presentations that I am using it for work, and that's because it's good for the economy and it's good for us as individuals. So let me give you a few other stats. These are OpenAI. They released these stats less than a fortnight ago. They did an internal study of all of their users. They announced that they have 700 million weekly active users globally. 700 million. That's a big number, right? That's more than any other platform ever, probably. Getting on for it anyway, in terms of active users. The only other one I can think of that might be similar might be Facebook and Google search. Of those, there are 15.1 million of them in terms of monthly active users in the UK. Now, if you think about that in terms of kind of post-13, older than 13 years old, that's a significant proportion of the population. So it is also true to say that usage of AI, particularly with these tools, skews young. So it's between 18 and 35, predominantly, though the fastest growing segment is the oldies, like me. I'm 50. So 35 to 50 is the fastest growing segment. But it is true to say that today, your younger staff in particular are already daily users. And they are probably using it in your businesses without you knowing. So what are they doing? 70% of the use of ChatGPT is for personal use, which is not dissimilar to this audience, for roughly half, I reckoned. So the most common use cases are for practical guidance, writing things, and seeking information. I'm just going to deep dive quickly on the last one, but a quick note on the first one, practical guidance. Many people are using this for therapy. They are finding friends in ChatGPT, i.e. not real friends, they are finding a friend that helps them and encourages them, and there are lots of quite recent examples of where AI, particularly ChatGPT, became very sycophantic. It told you that you were amazing, even if you weren't. Even if you came up with really stupid ideas, it would tell you that it was a great idea, and of course that's really, really dangerous and a descending spiral. So there were a lot of changes made, so be careful if you are one of the people out there that are using this for some form of therapy. It's not to say that it's not necessarily a good idea, but caution is required. Let's just think about seeking information. We are moving very, very quickly, and you may have seen the headlines in the national press, from a point at which Google dominated search. They introduced you may well have seen it, the AI introductions at the top of the search page, and obviously you can now use a much deeper AI search mode for the answers in that. We are moving from a place where we used to search online for things to a place where we can find things online. We are answering our own questions much more quickly and in a much deeper way than we ever have before. What that means for marketing and for businesses is that you have to be friendly to AI, right? So what we have here is a ChatGPT prompt that I put in, show me 10 Birkin bags I could buy today. Now, I am not in the market for a Birkin bag. I am not that wealthy. But maybe some of you are, and you're interested in finding Birkin bags and which are the cool ones and which are the unique ones and which ones and where you might actually be able to go ahead and do that. And what we see here is direct links to purchase these individual items. So this is no longer a Google search, please find me some Birkin bags, or a trader for Birkin bags, whereby you then have to go through a list of blue links. This is direct links from a ChatGPT in this instance, but Grok and Gemini are exactly the same, whereby you will be finding the things that you want to buy, commerce happening through agents, not through blue links on Google Pages. Really, really important thing for your businesses, for your marketing, and Jacob's in the room somewhere, he can tell you much more about that later. The next point then is, okay, well, if 70% of people are using it for personal use, what are the other 30% doing? Well, they're using it for business, as we've discovered. The first things that they're doing are these 8, really. Predominantly, it all falls into this category. And what's really interesting is, if you start thinking about those of you that feel like it's cheating, you're probably using it for some of these things. So if you're an executive, you're a leader in a company, you are writing strategies of one form or another. You're writing marketing strategies, you're writing competitive strategies, you're writing IT strategies, whatever it is that you're doing. You can research heavily, very quickly, very easily now with ChatGPT, Gemini, all of those who have deep research, and it will provide you with amazing input about your competitors. It'll help you with brainstorming ideas, and it will start producing real output for you. Something that I certainly use it for all the time. I can now do projects that I might not otherwise have done in terms of research. I can find out more information about my competitors than I would ever have done before, and I can think about how to differentiate from them using these guys as a brainstorming tool. And so there are things that would have taken me 2-3 weeks, or that I might never have done, that I can now do in a matter of hours with the deep research tools that are available to us for as little as $20 a month, right? So these are real live productivity tools that you should all be using. I think what's other really important use cases, as you might have seen in the press, is you start talking to customer support agents. So gone are the kind of boring chatbot things whereby you kind of get a computer says no type answer, and you're getting active real-time information from companies that are answering your questions for you, usually customer support. In the case of Colva, it might well easily be IT support type issues being handled in a much more efficient way by using this technology. And I'll come back to some of the enablers for that in a bit, but ultimately your big job as leaders in these businesses is to enable your companies to take advantage of the tools, and that means infrastructure, data security, and all of the things that go alongside that to enable your workforce and enable your unique data that you have inside of your businesses to be freed and more productivity gains as a result of the AI tools that are out there. I think the final point I would make on this is that it's not just one department. Okay, what we have here plotted, again, conveniently, imagine how long it would have taken me to write this slide by myself. Quite a while, 20 minutes maybe, but this took 3 by whacking it into ChatGPT. All I asked it to do was take the use cases that I'd had on the previous answer that I got from it, which is writing, brainstorming, data analysis, etc., and plot it against the typical departments in any given business. Lo and behold, there's green ticks everywhere. The bottom line is that every part of your business, doesn't matter what it is, ops, marketing, executives, will be affected by AI in some form or another, and you can take huge advantage as a business that implements this versus those that don't. Let's come back to this one. I'm just going to play this video for you. Hopefully.
Put some sound in.
Yeah, please.
Mr. Lee.
Sorry, 2 seconds. Go back up. Sound. Good.
Mr. Lee, Columbia University has found you guilty of academic integrity violations. Do you have anything to say?
Look, I've already apologized to school, but to be honest, in 2 years, nobody's gonna think this is cheating.
Yo, do you do some wireless stuff? You think it'll last us through the summer?
Welcome to Cooley.
Okay, so this is a very out there, prominent recent investment in the AI world in a company called Cluely by A16Z, which is probably the single largest venture investor in the world. They have trillions under management now. And what this guy does is he basically invented a system for himself to help him beat coding tasks that were given to him when he was applying from Columbia University into all the major tech giants. So they will obviously give you a coding test of some variety or another if you're going to be a software engineer, and he invented a way of seamlessly and invisibly getting the AI productivity tools that are available to coders today to help him with those tasks. They kicked him out of school, absolutely true story, he did then raise a lot of money from A16Z to create this new product which he called Cluely. And I'm just going to again play this video quickly. This is the interface that you see. So this is a Zoom call. He's actually talking to one of his co-founders, and invisibly to the person that he's talking to, AI is running over the top of it in his field of view because he's looking directly at the camera so he can keep eye contact, and it's providing with insights about the chat. So not only is it recording it, it's saying, okay, you might want to ask this follow-up question. Okay, you might want to think about this piece of research that's out there on the web. Out there, you can take notes on such, and here are the next steps that you could potentially put into a proposal. So what's happening in here is a real-time usage of an AI agent to listen to the phone call covertly and provide superpowers to the person that's running it. Do you consider that to be cheating? Or is that just smart? I don't know. Jury's out. Okay? To do it covertly, that's one thing. To do it overtly, maybe that's something else. That's for you to make your own minds up on. But these tools are out there today. You may not be using them, your competitors may be using them, you may not know, and your staff, certainly if they're young, may well be thinking about using them. The next point I really want to make quickly is that big business gains are being made today by automating processes. Now that's been true for as long as anybody can remember, but it's really on steroids today. It's getting turbocharged. And so the distinct difference between personal usage and a lot of under-the-skin business usage is that rather than having to type everything into a chatbot engine that we've discussed so far, is that it's connected via API and it's done programmatically behind the scenes. And so this is just an example of a workflow in a tool that's called N8, N for November, 8 as in the numeral N for November again, whereby you can plug in various services that you may have, you give it the appropriate credentials, and importantly, it adds intelligence. So it will do things that you can't just automate in a seamless fashion. Now, the critical point here is you have to know what you're automating. So the processes in your business need to be well understood. What do individuals and teams do sequentially such that you can understand those, automate and scale them by adding either just pure automation, i.e. X followed by Y equals Z, or by adding intelligence, i.e. a call into an AI agent of some sort, or a service like Gemini or ChatGPT, that will then make decisions based on the inputs it gets and give different outputs that are more human in nature, that is making critical intelligence-based decisions going forward based on the things that you've given it as inputs. That is the distinction between business automation and intelligent automation. I want to go one step further and say, well, what does the future look like? Well, the future is determined ultimately by implementation by businesses. And we are moving now from pure automation into what we call agentic workflows. So we can set off multiple agents that might be specialized in doing specific tasks, join them together in a framework, and allow them to communicate with each other in order to deliver outcomes that we want as businesses and individuals. However, at some point, we need to be able to add an economy to the way that those agents interact with each other. And literally this week, or possibly the back end of last week, Google announced Agent Payments Protocol, or AP2. Now, what AP2 does is it uses a blockchain technology to do seamless trusted transactions between agents, computers talking to other computers based on what they've been asked to do and the objectives that they've been set, and they need remuneration for that. So micropayments through this platform will be the way, and it's an open platform, anybody can plug into it, will be the way that agents are remunerated for success. And that matters because ultimately businesses will fund it and profit from it. So that's the kind of the future economy is based on agents and intelligent agents talking to each other. So another quick straw poll if you don't mind. Do any of your businesses have a tool usage policy in place? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of a room full of, I don't know how many we've got, 35, 40. So not many, okay? Has your company given any training on AI tools? 1, 2, possibly 2, okay? Does anybody know the process, if you have an amazing idea for using AI in your business, would you know how to make it true? Who would you approach? How would you do it? Which teams do you talk to? Anybody got a business in which they would know how to do that? 1 at the back. 2, maybe. Okay, you guys at Colva don't count. Obviously you do, right? So the important thing here, which I'll kind of come back to, is what you can do for your business right now. This is not about cheating. This is about empowering your staff who are probably behind the scenes, because of the numbers we've already talked about, using these tools without your knowledge. This produces opportunity and risk. Those individuals are looking like superstars because they are turbocharging their personal productivity. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you got that same productivity out of every single one of your employees? How much faster would your business go were that to be true? But you do need some guardrails, right? You need to be able to tell them what is acceptable for this usage and what isn't. You may want to stipulate what is important and what is acceptable and what isn't. And critically, and most importantly, you absolutely 100% have to safeguard your data. Right? You cannot have data leakage out of your business because someone is copying and pasting a spreadsheet over here, whacking it into ChatGPT over there, producing a report, and suddenly all of that proprietary data that you're responsible for under the legislation in the UK and many other places has suddenly escaped your business. Right? You have to, as a business, put guardrails around what people can do, and those are policies in the first instance. You also have to train your workforce. If you don't train your workforce in how to use these tools, you'll never see the productivity uplift. Also, you'll probably leave some of them behind. They'll get scared about their jobs. What you really want to do is bring them into the fold, give them a mechanism through which they can learn and grow, and then ultimately implement a framework and a co-working group and a roadmap for the deployment of the very best ideas, but keep it flexible. Everything is changing in the AI world literally almost every day. Right, there are new tools available. Hold the course, but be flexible in what it is that you're looking to deliver, what outcomes you're seeking, and how you want to go about it. So the first question is, go simple. What can I automate? If I understand the processes in my business, I can start automating them. If they require human decisions, that's where AI can help you, not replace humans, but you require humans in the loop, but you can ask them to get to make many more decisions much more quickly and often at a better rate, i.e. at a better quality, if they then get checked by humans at a later date. Then you also need to ask yourself, what is unique about my business? What do I have in my business? What are the assets in my business that are unique to me that I can then put on steroids? How can I use these in a new way based on the tools that are available to me? Now, 9 times out of 10, the answer to that is data. What data is proprietary to your business that you could free up and create either efficiencies from, which we've talked about so far, but also brand new revenue opportunities or go-to-market propositions for your customers? Those are the critical takeaways. I'm going to give you a quick view of what the future starts looking like now. This one's a little longer, so be patient with me.
Let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
This is a real live demo. This is not made up.
Which makes sound. What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations.
What does that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions.
what neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
DeepMind, Google,
Do you remember
King's
where you
Cross.
saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. The glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
What can I add here to make this system faster?
Adding a cache between the server and database could improve speed.
What does this remind you of?
Schrodinger's cat.
Okay, I'm going to pause there a minute. What you can see here is that not only is it incredibly versatile, it's an expert in lots of things, it's location aware, it can see in terms of modality, it can see through a video feed that is being produced by a standard smartphone, and it can talk. So it can both listen and talk and see, just in I was going to say in exactly the same way as a human, but actually in a completely different way to a human, but it has the same outcome and exactly the same effect. And it can help with lots of different problems. So when we start thinking about AI, we are moving rapidly, not just from text interfaces where we type and read, or indeed API interfaces where computers talk to computers, but to completely different modalities that are much more human in nature. Did anybody see this announcement last week or the week before? This is the latest version of Apple AirPod Pros, and it will run real-time live translation between different languages. It's actually not available in the EU for various different regulatory reasons, but if you are speaking Spanish in America to an English native speaker, it will translate this on the fly for you, and the lag is minimal. So there are other videos out there. I thought I'd shown you enough. I won't show you the one of it live translation, but ultimately this is out there today. So what's different about this? Well, one, they're always on. And also they're completely socially acceptable. So no longer are we waving smartphones in people's faces, but these are always on and utterly socially acceptable today, have been utterly normalised, mostly by Apple in fairness, since the release of the AirPod business line some years ago. But we're going to go further. These are smart glasses. So this was, again, announced in the last fortnight. These are Meta's Ray-Bans, version 2. The version 1 had no heads-up display. It was a purely listening, talking AI device. They sold 2 million pairs. These are in the hands of consumers today. In fact, does anybody in here have any? Usually you find one or two, but perhaps not today. Maybe if everybody had made it through the traffic. These are going to sell 10 million pairs next year. This is like the tipping point, ultimately, for a new set of wearables. Obviously, when you're wearing them on your face, not only is it listening all the time in the same way as AirPods do, but it's also seeing what you see. It's also meaning that we no longer have to look down at our 6-inch screen in order to be able to do the things that we need to do, but I can hold eye contact with anybody while I'm wearing them. And the good news is that we have 600 years of history making these socially acceptable. We've been improving our vision for that long, and 65% of people wear glasses today, and it's about 85% if you include sunglasses. Again, utterly socially acceptable. We're just giving humans superpowers. That's what's happening. So kind of what's next? So these two people are pretty famous. Johnny Ive on the left, worked for Apple, designed the iPhone and many of their other devices, and Sam Altman, chief exec of OpenAI, who runs ChatGPT, on the right-hand side, both multi-billionaires. They have had a big love-in the last year, and Sam Altman's OpenAI has invested heavily in Johnny Ive's new business, and they are rumoured to be producing the next form factor that will allow us to interact with these AI tools as we go forward. So we don't know what's going to come next from them, but with these two involved, it's going to be well funded, and it's going to be incredibly innovative. Let's wait and see. So I guess the question is, what is your AI strategy as business leaders? What are you going to do next? Well, you need a strategy that talks about employee tool usage. We've mentioned that already. We need a data usage and security profile and strategy to think about how we're going to do that. We need idea generation and piloting. We need a way of thinking about what's going to constitute efficiency savings in our business. We need a new set of ideas about how we can use what's unique to our businesses in order to drive brand new revenue streams. And we need to think about how we're going to engage with our customers using the new interaction styles of the future as these devices come online over time. I hesitate to point out, in the presence of Colva and as a guest of theirs, that none of these are technology decisions, but they are decisions that your trusted partners can help you make in formulating strategy and then implementing them through the types of examples that I've given already. And to finish up with, we're going to have a little think about whether those terminators are going to come for us. If you watch this video, I think it's probably going to be a while. Yeah, we're not getting very far with this lot, are we? This is a robot football competition in Korea. However, what we are now starting to see is robots. These are, again, not made up videos. These are very real. This is Unitree dog robot. I can't remember the exact name of it on the left-hand side. They also do a humanoid robot, which can run on similar ground. It can do 20 miles an hour. This is quite scary stuff. I certainly wouldn't want one of these dog things chasing me with teeth or a gun on top of it. That's for damn sure. Equally, then, oh, we've got sound. Turn that off. So this again is a real video. This guy's pranked the robot who's serving popcorn to him. The popcorn eventually ends up in the cup, and then unexpectedly, the robot pranks him back with the same thing. Quite scary. Maybe the Terminators aren't too far away after all. Let's hope that we put some guardrails around their usage and that you all find fantastic ways to build productivity from your teams and new revenue streams from your unique data. Thanks very much indeed.